this is Aromie here. Welcome back to our life. Baxter JLC, we're here in Baxter's room. Homie, what are you doing? You should wear that necklace. The shock of recognition came as a tingling as a tingling across your scalp. He kept it. A souvenir got for him years ago. You've been convinced he would have tossed the thing out or in the back of a drawer. The fact that he instead held onto it made you feel a complicated mix of emotions. It was as sad as it was touching. Now that was not the time to unpack it, however. In that moment, you wanted to see the man himself, but no matter how you tried, you couldn't catch sight of Baxter from out in the hallway. Damn, his room has a nice view. Desperate times call for desperate measures. You push a door open, stepping a short way inside. On the same side of the room as the entrance, you discover the opening to a walk-in closet, and at the far end of the closet, it took you a second to realize what you were looking at. There was Baxter Ward in the flesh. The flesh and almost nothing else. He happened to be rummaging through his collected wardrobe while wearing only boxers and a pair of socks. He'd been facing away initially, showing his exposed back. Oh, wait, those boxers are so cute. They're so cute. Then he turned and you're greeted with a full view of his naked torso. I wonder if it's the theming of the next game, like a hinted theme, because it reminds me of fall. And Our Life Forever and Always, or whatever it's called, I forgot. It looks like this kind of theme. Then they turn, you're greeted with a full view of his naked torso. When your brain caught up with what was going on, you couldn't stop yourself letting out a little yelp of surprise. Baxter didn't startle, having caught sight of you in the corner of his peripheral vision.
Terrible morning, isn't it?
Oh, you're so cute. Hello, mi chico. Oh, your heart was pumping, your head was buzzing. He was, wow. You clap your hands over your eyes in embarrassment. You dramatically shutter yourself from the view with one arm. You did a full 180 turn your whole back to him. You merely stared at a mouth agape. You raised your hand in greeting. Give him a cheery smile. Just wave at him. I don't know. It seems like a pretty good one to me.
How wonderful.
Well, I'm glad at least one of us thinks so. Baxter spun on his feet and resumed his work without explanation. Regrettably, your eyes kept being drawn to places they really shouldn't be. And wait. You felt the blood rush to your face as your eyes zeroed in on a second mole of Baxter's, one which you have never seen before. It was on the rear side of his left thigh, very high up. It had always been covered by clothes. Even shorts of reasonable length would do the trick. You might never have seen it if not for this whatever it was. I could not read any of that. You wrenched your gaze away and silently berated yourself for ogling him. Ogling him? Well, his back was turned. Are things okay in here? Baxter gave a terse sigh, his fingers continuing to comb through his collection of shirts and jackets. They could be better, let's put it that way. I'm sorry my room is in such a state. You've caught me with my pants down in more ways than one. I simply can't find my work uniform. It's not an official matter, but there's a particular shirt I always like to wear on duty at weddings to help identify me as staff. You see.
I swear.
But it's missing. What I should have done was taken the time to set my clothes last night. Unfortunately, I was distracted with baking and frosting and a new guest in my home. His features took on a pinch agitated quality, his eyes darting distractedly about the room. Either way, I have to hunt it down or we're going to be late. A faint edge of panic began to creep on his voice, and he started to append the closet with increased urgency. I can't believe you conned me into thinking you'd get better with mornings. Is there something I can do to help? Baxter made a noise through his teeth. That won't be necessary. Thank you, though. I've already made such a mess of the place, and you wouldn't be likely to make much headway. There always seemed to be something waiting to go wrong. Baxter grumbled as he relentlessly sifted through the clothes, as much to make himself as to anyone else. You wonder if he had a habit of thinking aloud, even when he was alone. Part of the tragedy of adult life is learning to roll with the punches, so to speak. I suppose I should be proud of the fact that I can at least handle it much better than when I was younger. Thinking about what kind of a panic a younger Baxter would have been thrown into at the prospect of a missing shirt on an important day. He He made a comical sputter of disgust, like he was experiencing a full body shiver. He smiled, recalling the first time he'd ever interacted with Baxter this early in the day. It had left such a strong impression. He doubted you'd ever forget. He'd been so flustered. It was like you'd stumbled across a whole different person wearing Baxter's pajamas and face. Nothing like the man you now knew, who was frustrated, sure, but still managed to approach the situation without letting it crush him, even in just his boxers. Your brain couldn't help but remind you of a strange coincidence, that Baxter almost undressed in front of you on that other occasion 5 years ago. There was no almost about the present situation. You wonder how your past self would have reacted if you were somehow able to tell her about this. It was a good thing you couldn't, really. Her mind might have burst. Back then, you hadn't got to see the little pinch to Baxter's waist, or the flare of his hip bones, or the way the snug fit of his boxers insinuated actually you needed to stop thinking for a minute. Aha! There was a sudden shout of euphoria from the back of the closet, jolting you out of your train of thought. Baxter stumbled back into the room, a black button-down clutched victoriously in one hand. Hallelujah, I found it, finally.
Honestly.
A close call if I ever had one. I appreciate you coming to lend your support, Michiko. If you don't mind giving me a minute, I'll be trusting with you shortly. Although, he gave a small giggle looking down at himself. Since you've already seen me like this, it doesn't make much sense that the time you need to leave is while I put my clothes on. But still, I'm sure you got better things to do than watch the cleanup of a train wreck. I'll go get the cake out of the fridge. I'll get some water. Sure, I gotta check if I have my stuff together. Let's not linger. Let's get the cake out the fridge.
See you.
Now that is a plan. See you in a bit then. You left him to get decent, heading down the hall and into the kitchen. You brought the cake out with careful fingers and set it on the counter. After that, you sat down in the living room to wait. It wasn't long until Baxter appeared. You were gazing out a window when you heard the click of shoes on the hard floor, following shortly after by the man himself, sauntering into view. How is this gonna make you stand out? Well, I guess it depends on the theme of the wedding, first of all. Because if it was like, casual black and white themed, he would blend in for sure. He was smartly dressed in black from top to tail. His slacks were crisp and pressed, the shoes polished, and miraculously his shirt seemed to have survived the ordeal without getting creased. It took a cursory glance over to the marble counter, spying the finished cake.
Excellent.
Thank you for taking care of that. If there's nothing else to attend to, we should get on our way. You readily agreed, picking up your bag and joining him by the front door. A short trip down the elevator and both you and the cake were safely bundled into Baxter's car. He pulled out of his parking space and set a course to the suburbs once more. It was still early, the air crisp as it wafted through the rolled windows. Baxter leaned one arm on his door, cool and casual. Since we're keeping our creation a surprise, I'll take it to the venue, so don't worry about leaving it here. I'll hop out with you to say hello to the betrothed, though.
Now?
As for what happens next, I thought we could... The pair of you naturally wade into a discussion on the minute, whatever that is, of the wedding plan. You'd already been over most of it, but it was confidence boosting to having laid out one more time. As Baxter described it to you once, weddings and similar occasions were a kind of ritual. You suppose that obsessing over the little details was a crucial part of another kind of ritual. Surprisingly, you had begun to feel almost like Baxter's colleague, a fellow planner endeavoring to bring this event to fruition. You'd certainly put in the work by this point. The conversation didn't stop at your own responsibilities for the day. Baxter reiterated that he, together with Terry, Miranda, and the other members of Jude's family, would be decorating the wedding hall over the course of the morning. The marriage would be conducted in the late afternoon, with a sit-down dinner reception in the evening, so there was still plenty of time to prepare. The detour back to Scott and Jude was for you to change into your outfit. You couldn't exactly come to their big day in the casual clothes you'd slept in the previous night. You'd regroup with the rest of the crew after freshening up. Even though Jude at least knew the reason for it, your cheeks got heated at the prospect of showing back up with Baxter after spending the night at his place. It felt so scandalous. Mr. Ward didn't give the same impression as Tara or Cove, or any of the other men you knew, really. Crashing with them was totally cool, no questions to be had. But Baxter? Someone both suggestive and inaccessible. Staying in his apartment would raise eyebrows. And that was without mentioning the fashion in which your morning had started. It was too late to take it back now. Not that you would even want to. You relished the final calm before the storm until Baxter stopped the car, across the street from the soon-to-be Adam house. That was typical, although this time he couldn't pull up on the driveway because there was already an occupant stationed there. A shockingly red sports car had been parked facing the road, its spotless painted body gleaming in the ever-intensifying rays of sun. The rental, you assumed. Baxter had come through yet again. It was almost exactly the same shape as the controller cake tucked safely away on the back seat. You bet good money that Jude, the motorhead, wouldn't be the only one thrilled to ride in it. Walking past the vehicle on the way to the front door, you and Baxter paused to admire the sleek profile and elegant curves. The Corvette somehow looked better up close. The gloss of paint was reflective. In the entryway, Baxter rapped on the door with a knuckle. You noticed that he did this in spite of the fact there was a doorbell. Maybe just another one of his inexplicable mannerisms. After a brief pause, there was footsteps inside, and then Scott was standing in the open doorway. He greeted you enthusiastically, full of restive energy. Hey, welcome back! Oh, and Baxter too, good morning. Being confronted by the groom you were in the process of keeping a secret from caught you off guard. It would have been prudent to go over the plan for this on the ride over. Baxter, however, had no problem acting fine under pressure.
How are you?
Good morning to you, Scott. How are you feeling today? Excited? Nervous?
I don't know.
Maybe both. No, yeah, definitely both. I thought I'd never sleep, Ben. There was more commotion in the hallway. Jude came jogging up behind to greet you over Scott's shoulder.
Made it.
How was your night with Terry and Randy, Michiko? Oh, okay. His demeanor was cool and calm, exuding total confidence despite the nonsensical question. You quickly surmised that sleeping over at your friend's place must be a cover story. You hastened to school your expression, not wanting to give the game away. It was a fine? No, this is going to be harder than you thought. How did you manage to look so collected? Fortunately, Scott wasn't the least bit suspicious. His mind obviously preoccupied on more matrimonial, topics. You could practically see the daydream bubble of Scott skipping down the aisle. I wanted to stop by briefly to see how you were both feeling before this afternoon, and happened to bump into Michiko on the driveway. Well rested, Jude.
It's good.
Yep, I'm good. Somehow managed to get Scott to go to bed, too. That's true. Jude knows the art of relaxation.
Of course.
It's wonderful there's nothing to worry about on that front. Everything is running smoothly with regards to the preparations. Here, Baxter gave Jude a meaningful look, who cracked into a small grin behind Scott's back. Message received. So you can focus on getting yourselves ready for your moment without concern. Although if anything comes up, please don't hesitate to give me a call. You stifled a giggle throughout that exchange in spite of yourself. Seeing Baxter suavely pass veiled messages when he had been such a frantic mess half an hour before was too funny. Honestly, the fact that he was able to pull such a abrupt about face to let his own stress fade into the background in service of pure professionalism. It was kind of hot? Okay, girly. And just like that, you weren't in danger of laughing anymore. Baxter cleared his throat, glancing at his phone. I best get to the venue since everything is in hand here. Terry and Miranda have already arrived there.
I appreciate this.
Right, don't let us keep you. And thanks, Baxter, for everything. We really appreciate what you've done for us. June made as though to offer his agreement, but Baxter smiled and raised a hand to stem the flow of gratitude.
My pleasure.
You're too kind. However, as it stands, my job is only half finished. I'll be too happy to accept your words once the wedding is over. To do so now would be premature. Sure, dude. Thanks anyway. June met your gaze as he said this, to include you in the sentiment. You silently hope that your baking lived up to his rising hopes. Baxter nodded and turned to leave, before doubling back to catch you briefly by the elbow. I'll see you later, Michiko. Terry should come by to pick you up, once you've had an opportunity to get changed. You ducked your head in acknowledgement, relishing the thought of the shower you're going to have after a long night's work. Baxter smiled warmly and gave your arm a nearly imperceptible squeeze before letting go. Just say you love me already, bro. Just say you love me, bro. His goodbye said, Baxter wasted no time. He strolled briskly down the driveway and got into the car, sparing you a wave as he drove away. Behind you, Scott cleared his throat. Come in, Michiko. June and I were starting to get ready ourselves. Do whatever you gotta do. Oh, and there's finally a key for you. It's on the kitchen counter. Yeah, I remember that one a little late. They certainly had, but you couldn't pretend as if you asked for it, or that you were mad you got more time with Baxter. Now I have some pants to iron. He vanished into the house, a spring in his step. As you were crossing the threshold, Jude mumbled to you under his breath. Hey, help yourself to the food in the kitchen. Not sure if you had to pass on breakfast this morning or... He spoke guiltily, but you brushed it aside. You lost out on some sleep, but the look on Scott's face would be worth it. It's okay. Thanks, Jude. My girl ate something else instead. Air. You're left to your own devices for the remainder of the morning, availing yourself of Jude's offers. You cobble together a quick breakfast before heading upstairs and taking a well-earned shower. As a treat for working hard, you indulge into hot water for a while. But eventually you return to the other guest room that had been loaned to you and hauled your suitcase onto the bed before fishing out your wedding attire. Ooh, okay. You had a dress, you had a formal button-down shirt and pants, you had a formal blouse and pants, you had a formal button-down shirt and a skirt, you had a formal blouse and a skirt, you had a full suit, or the wedding attire was just more of your normal stuff. I had a dress. It was a relief to see that the journey hadn't wrinkled anything too much. You weren't going to be turning heads for the wrong reasons. When you had your look finalized, there was little left to do other than wait for Tara to come collect you. It felt funny to be loafing about the house dressed to the nines. Not like it was the first time you'd gotten up to that. Fortunately, you weren't left to your own devices much longer. Shortly before noon, a car honked and your phone alerted you of a text. It was Terry, thoroughly making you aware that he had arrived. You sprang to your feet from the sofa you've been lounging on, pausing in the hallway to give a quick goodbye to Scott and Jude, wherever they were, then dashed out the front door. Terry's van was parked across the street in the place Baxter's car had occupied before. You went around to the passenger side and popped the door open.
Preposterous.
Someone's looking fancy. Where are you going today? Over in the driver's seat, Terry was wearing a swanky-looking waistcoat and an enormous grin. He looked so eager that if you hadn't known better, you'd have guessed it was him getting married. You smiled and shook your head at his nonsense, but you made a show of climbing in with as much grace and aristocratic poise as you could manage. Hi, Terry. One ride to the wedding hall, please. For you, Michiko? Anything. Terry rammed the van into gear and pulled off, wasting no time in heading back the way he came. Or he'd come. As the car picked up speed, he drummed his hands on the steering wheel animatedly. It's finally here! The big one! I'm ready for it! It's gonna be a little bittersweet, wouldn't it? Since it's, the only reason why I'm here. Because I don't live in Sunset Bird anymore. My girl lives, in the East Coast. Oh my god! Roles reversed! Because, Baxter was in the East Coast. Now he's in the West Coast. Damn. I guess my girl has to move. But anyway, thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next one.